Sorry, Sonic, that was almost a triple flusher, but I managed to get it down.
I'm out of here.
No! Look, queer people aren't any different from the rest of us, they just have a different Bible. Sonic CD has always been seen as the classic Sonic game you forgot about. The deep middle child that you neglected. The best Sonic game you've never heard of. But now we live in 2026, emulation is easily accessible and the game is available on multiple platforms. That's not to understate the game's importance, because all things considered, this is one of the most notable games in the Sonic series. It introduced Amy, Metal Sonic. It was the first game in the series to have high quality music and fully animated cutscenes. And can I just say that I absolutely fucking love these? Not only is the animation very well done, but I think this is specifically my favorite Sonic design in the series. He's just so damn charming and adorable, I love it. Now, these cutscenes were compressed down a fair bit on an actual Sega CD, and while the lower frame rate is a little annoying, I still think it's a fine way to watch it. The lack of artifacting has me believing that these weren't totally compressed. Rather, someone traced the frames into pixel art, which is just fucking rad. Yeah, while we're on the subject of presentation, Sonic CD is also interesting in how it has two completely different soundtracks depending on which region you're in. Japan and Europe got the same one, but America's was almost entirely unique. A few tracks do carry over, but as you can imagine, debates about which soundtrack is better are very prevalent in this discussion. Now, where do I stand on such a political issue? Well, both soundtracks have their own merits, but who am I kidding? The Japanese-European soundtrack is so much better. Not only does the track list have so much more variety, combining a bunch of different genres fused into a fun, catchy soundtrack with so many hits in there, not to mention how many of these are just plain gorgeous. Managing to feel incredibly immersive and atmospheric while also being really fun to listen to. That's not to say I don't like the American soundtrack. I mean, it's the one I listened to while playing the game for this video. It has some decent songs here and there, but I feel like whatever atmosphere they were going for is super weak and feels really out of place for a Sonic title. Like seriously, why is this the boss theme? Look, I love some dark, brooding songs as much as the next guy, and if the whole OST was darker, I could maybe appreciate it more. But no, a majority of the tracks here are just weaker alternatives to the more lighthearted Japanese release. It's tonal whiplash every time I get to a boss or bad future, and the American OST has a much weaker flow because of that. It also reminds me of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in a negative way, but that just might be me. Now for the actual gameplay. Sonic CD introduces the Super Peel Out, which is pretty much just a weaker version of the Spin Dash, which is also in this game. It's not that it's completely useless. I mean, I definitely did it a few times in my playthrough, as it is a little bit faster, but also you could have just applied that speed to the Spin Dash for efficiency. Sonic CD's main gimmick is time travel. There's these past and future signposts that allow you to travel to the past or future versions of a level by maintaining speed for a long enough time. In the future, you can break Dr. Robotnik's generators to make a good future, and if you don't, that zone will have a bad future. Get every good future to unlock the game's good ending? Some flowers, that's it, that's what the good ending is. And I really don't like this mechanic. I think it is implemented incredibly poorly. I don't hate the concept of it, it's great in theory, but Sonic CD was just not designed with it in mind. There isn't any reason for the future posts at all. After you break the generator, I'm not really desperate to get back to the present when I can just beat the level in the past, and you get to see what the good or bad future looks like in the third act anyways. So it really wouldn't make that much of a difference. The only advantage to going to the future is that the level is completely devoid of enemies. But it's such a pain in the ass to do that when I could just beat the damn stage in significantly less time. Whenever I have gone to the future in this game, it has been completely against my will, because of how often I'll accidentally time travel because Sonic got stuck in some automated bullshit. But on top of that, wow! Sonic CD's levels don't feel like they were made for this kind of exploration whatsoever. Sonic 1 and 2's levels are relatively straightforward. Backtracking, or just trying to get to a certain place on the map, is really easy in those games because the levels were rarely labyrinth-like. I said rarely. Sonic CD's levels are mostly areas that are cramped and don't allow you to gain speed easily, and if you are starting to gain some speed, it's not uncommon to just be stopped out of nowhere, whether by an enemy or spikes or a spring or whatever. Levels want to make sure you're going fast, but not too fast. Thank God, I was almost having fun for a second. And you know, that would be fine if this was a standard platformer, but not only is this Sonic the Hedgehog, the main gimmick relies on it. Now, there are a few areas that allowed you to build momentum easily, some springs, a wide open space, but you'd be shocked at how difficult it is to find these places sometimes. Most of the signposts aren't in a place where you can actually use them. But most important of all, going back in time and destroying the generators is just not fun. You gotta find a place to gain speed in these massive yet cramped levels, then you gotta find a generator where there is only one in these massive yet cramped levels. It's not impossible, it's not unfair, but it is so tedious. And also not worth it, because not only is the good ending completely worthless, but you can get it another way. Similar to Sonic 1, if you collect 50 rings and reach the giant ring at the end of the level, you'll enter a special stage. And these are so much more enjoyable than going for the generators. These are probably the best special stages in the series so far. You have to chase down these UFOs and destroy them on a not 3D map in order to obtain the 7 time stones. It's actually pretty fun and tense. My cheeks are always clenched when I'm running out of time to get the last one. I'm just grateful these weren't completely unfair like Sonic 2's or stomach churning like Sonic 1. But while these are fun, I still have no motivation to go for them because the good ending is still some fucking flowers. You don't get Supersonic or anything else for it besides, yay, you did it! It doesn't feel like there's a point to anything in this game. These are cool ideas, but they're just fucking around when it's time to execute. A complaint that I unfortunately hold towards the level design as well. Now, if I can give Sonic CD one thing, it's that the level design rarely feels unfair. They also rarely feel fun. Sonic Team's goal was emphasizing exploration with these levels, but what I really think they did was emphasizing levels that are easy to get lost in. Sonic CD's levels feel like a random assortment of bullshit that feels procedurally generated, and every space has to be filled in with something. Palm Tree Panic is probably the most sensible of the bunch. A Green Hill-esque opening zone highlighting more verticality this time around. Sure is a shame that's the hardest direction for Sonic to move in, but whatever, you know, it's fun, it's got some cool secrets, it's fun to bounce around. It's probably the easiest one to actually explore. It's alright. Collision Chaos is just a whole lot of whatever. Yeah, just throw a million springs and hills into a level and call it a day. It's a video game level to fuck around in and not much more than that. Tidal Tempest is another water level, and while it's not as aggressively bad as Labyrinth Zone, it's still incredibly tedious since it's the most difficult to get around in yet. Not only because of the water, but also because this level is too damn big. Quartz Quadrant is green, I guess? More mechanical, and I'm really struggling here, guys. It sucks, this level isn't very fun and completely forgettable. Wacky Workbench is a factory level with the floor that bounces you up really high when you touch it. I mean, hey, it's something. It's not great, but probably one of the better ones here. Stardust Speedway is just a spaghetti mess of a million different pathways. I'm looking at the level map right now and my head hurts. This is one of the few levels where you're able to gain some actual speed, and honestly, that's a bad thing here. I feel like it's too easy for me to get stuck or start going somewhere I don't want. It's probably a blast if you have no goals and are chill, but I need to find the robot generator for a video, unfortunately. Metallic Madness sucks. Insta-kill crushers and a bunch of random machinery fill up a bunch of tight spaces, with annoying as hell enemies and spike placements on top of that. Sonic does turn mini at one point, and it's adorable, but that's literally the only highlight. That's undercut by all the one-way doors that take you backwards in the level, leaving you to redo sections you've already done again. When I said these levels were maze-like, I was not joking. It's bad. The art design of these levels look really cool for the most part, but none of these feel like actual places, which wouldn't be a problem if the game didn't put such emphasis on time travel, which I wasn't going to use, but maybe it would be worth going back in time or in the future if it actually told me about these worlds. But it's really hard to tell me something about Quartz Quadrant because all I learned going back in time was that it used to be green. It was already green! Tidal Tempest used to be green, Stardust Speedway used to be green. The future is red if you don't do anything. The future looks futury if you do something. It all feels incredibly shallow. And it's a shame too, because if they did this with levels that feel like actual places, with notable changes between the past and future versions, it would mostly validate the time traveling mechanic. But instead, it feels like a massive missed opportunity, because they chose to do it with this game. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to the bosses. They suck. The first one dies in 4 hits and never actually hurts you. The second one is in this pinball machine that is a pain in the ass to get up. The third one has you swallow a bunch of bubbles, then hit Eggman once to win. Quartz Quadrant has you running on a treadmill and dodging 1 obstacle for 1 minute to win. I still found a way to fuck it up, don't worry. The bosses get a little better in the second half. Wacky Workbench has you climbing up to reach Eggman off of falling debris. Stardust Speedway has you racing Metal Sonic in a pretty cool sequence. But the game chooses to end out on old Spinny McGee over here, and it's mostly just slow and underwhelming. That's Sonic CD in a nutshell, really. It's not a bad game, but it's close. None of its ideas come together in a way that feels cohesive. All of its parts work fine on their own, but together they completely lack any synergy. And the result is a bungling mess of a game that has a lot of cool fun facts behind it. Did you know this game has Metal Sonic? I mean, ignoring all the lame-ass gimmicks, Sonic CD is serviceable. Hell, even going for the time stones is mostly alright. But as a whole package, I just hate doing anything time travel related here. The levels were not designed with it in mind, and it results in a game that feels confused and disappointing. It's getting a 4 out of 10 from me. I think it's the weakest of the Sonic series so far. Sonic 1 is definitely close, but I feel like that game has higher highs and lower lows, while Sonic CD is just a constant stream of mediocrity and missed opportunities for the most part.